What if the law says he didn't do it, but the evidence says he did? It had been a year since the most controversial verdict in modern American legal history. On October 3rd, 1995, O.J. Simpson, former football icon, actor, and household name, had been acquitted of the brutal double murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The not guilty verdict was seen by millions live on television. His dream team of attorneys had outmaneuvered the prosecution in a trial that exposed deep cracks in the American justice system. Cracks defined by race, wealth, fame, and media spectacle. But one family wasn't done fighting. The civil lawsuit, a new battle. In late 1995, Fred Goldman, Ron's father, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against O.J. Simpson in civil court, joined by Nicole's estate, represented on behalf of her children, Sydney and Justin. Unlike the criminal trial, this wouldn't be about reasonable doubt. This time, the burden of proof would be a preponderance of the evidence. In other words, was it more likely than not that O.J. Simpson had committed the murders? By October 1996, the civil trial was scheduled, and this time, the courtroom would look very different. No Johnny Cochran, no dream team. O.J.'s famous criminal defense team, Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro, F. Lee Bailey, were gone. In their place stood attorney Bob Baker and a reduced defense staff. Simpson's finances were rapidly dwindling. His once lucrative endorsements and movie roles had vanished. His Brentwood mansion, once guarded from media helicopters, now stood as a symbol of crumbling glory. The Goldman and Brown families, however, had gathered new strength. Representing them was Daniel Petrocelli, a relatively unknown but tenacious civil attorney from Orange County. Petrocelli wasn't flashy, but he was methodical, and he came prepared with a strategy the criminal prosecutors had lacked. The first strike, O.J. must testify. In the criminal trial, Simpson never took the stand. In the civil trial, he had no choice. The judge, Hiroshi Fujisaki, ruled early on Simpson would testify under oath. The plaintiffs were elated. This was their chance to catch O.J. off guard, under pressure, without the media circus that had turned the criminal trial into a spectacle. Cameras were banned from the courtroom. There would be no theatrics, only facts. The case was tried in Santa Monica Superior Court, considered more conservative than the downtown L.A. jury pool from the criminal case. Forensic evidence revisited. Daniel Petrocelli's approach was brutal and direct. He reintroduced the bloody glove, the DNA, the bloody shoe prints, and the cut on O.J.'s finger. He showed photographs of Nicole and Ron's wounds, meticulously described by medical experts. He presented the Bruno Magli shoe print, a rare model only sold 300 times in the U.S., and showed a 1993 photograph of O.J. wearing them. Despite his earlier denial of owning such shoes, Petrocelli drilled Simpson on every inconsistency from his previous interviews. He dissected Simpson's claim that he was home alone during the murders, despite no one seeing him, and his alibi shifting repeatedly. O.J.'s testimony. The cracks appear. O.J. Simpson took the stand on January 21st, 1997. Petrocelli wasted no time. Did you kill Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman? No, O.J. replied firmly, but under questioning, his confidence faltered. Petrocelli played a recorded phone message from O.J. where he'd shouted profanities at Nicole. He introduced journal entries showing a disturbing pattern of abuse and obsession. He revealed that Simpson had taken a lie detector test during the early investigation and failed. Most damning of all, Petrocelli caught Simpson lying about the Bruno Magli shoes. O.J. had denied ever owning them. But under cross-examination, Petrocelli presented not one, but 30 photographs of Simpson wearing them at a 1993 NFL game. O.J. stammered. Those could be fake. Petrocelli replied coldly. They're from a news agency photographer. Are you accusing them of doctoring them? The courtroom sat silent. The family speak. Fred Goldman, Ron's father, delivered one of the most heart-wrenching testimonies of the trial. He was my son. He had his whole life ahead of him, he said, voice cracking. And now he's dead because of that man right there. Denise Brown, Nicole's sister, described a history of abuse. She told the jury that Nicole had often feared for her life and detailed the times O.J. had stalked, threatened and terrorized Nicole in the years before her death. Unlike the criminal trial, where domestic violence had been largely glossed over, the civil trial placed it at the center of the narrative. O.J. refuses to look. Throughout the trial, Simpson often sat with his head down. He didn't look at the autopsy photos. He didn't face the Goldmans. He offered no apology, no remorse, no explanation. At one point, Daniel Petrocelli addressed the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a whodunit. This is a he did it." The jury, 8 men and 4 women, included 2 African Americans, 1 Hispanic, and 9 white jurors. It was a much different demographic than the one in his 1995 criminal trial, and they listened intently the verdict and the shift in history. On February 4th, 1997, after just 4 months of trial and only 4 days of deliberation, the jury returned its verdict. O.J. Simpson was found liable for the wrongful deaths of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. He was ordered to pay $8.5 million in compensatory damages, and days later, an additional $25 million in punitive damages. Total, $33.5 million. The aftermath, a different kind of justice. For Fred Goldman, it wasn't about the money. It was about truth, about vindication. Outside the courthouse, he said, "We finally have justice for Ron. The system worked this time. He is guilty, not just in our hearts, but in the eyes of the law." The verdict marked a rare moment in American legal history, where a man acquitted of murder in criminal court was still held accountable in civil court. But the story doesn't end there. In the years that followed, Simpson would continue to evade full payment. He hid assets. He moved to Florida, where laws made it harder to seize his property. In 2007, he was arrested again, this time for armed robbery, and sentenced to 33 years in prison. But that's another story. What does a man do after being found responsible for 2 brutal murders? O.J. wrote a book called Asterisk If I Did It. When the civil trial ended in February 1997, with a $33.5 million verdict against O.J. Simpson, many thought justice, if not in criminal court, then in the civil one, had finally caught up. But they didn't understand O.J. Simpson. He wasn't done. The judgment and the escape to Florida. Right after the verdict, Simpson was ordered to begin paying millions in damages to the families of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. The $8.5 million in compensatory and $25 million in punitive damages were meant to punish him and offer the families justice. But O.J. had other plans. He moved to Florida, specifically Kendall near Miami, in early 1997. Why Florida? Because Florida law, unlike California's, protected his home and pensions from seizure under the homestead exemption. The Goldmans couldn't touch his NFL pension, estimated at around $25,000 a month, nor his lavish new home. He was safe, or so he thought. A life of avoidance and schemes, 1997 to 2006. Over the next decade, Simpson lived comfortably in a gated Florida golf community, made money under the table, autograph signings, untraceable appearances, reportedly used intermediaries to sell memorabilia and avoid paper trails, declared himself broke when asked to pay the judgment. Meanwhile, the Goldman family spent years hiring attorneys and private investigators to track every dime he tried to hide. It became a cat-and-mouse game. Fred Goldman was relentless. He killed my son, and now he's flaunting his freedom while refusing to pay for what he did. The media clown returns. O.J. began reappearing in tabloids and low-level celebrity events. Filmed a prank DVD called Juiced in 2006, featuring crude gags and Simpson pretending to sell the infamous white Bronco. Regularly signed sports memorabilia at private hotel events, often in cash-only deals to avoid garnishment. Every appearance stirred public rage. He wasn't just avoiding justice. He was mocking it. Then came the bombshell, "If I Did It," 2006. In November 2006, America was blindsided. O.J. Simpson had signed a deal with Reagan Books, an imprint of HarperCollins, then owned by News Corp, to publish a book titled "If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer," and he was planning to promote it in a 2-night Fox TV special. The premise? Simpson would hypothetically describe how he would have murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman if he had done it. Outrage erupts. Public reaction was explosive. Victims' rights groups, media figures, and both families were horrified. Bookstores began boycotting the release. Talk show hosts like Anderson Cooper, Oprah, and Barbara Walters condemned the book and the TV deal. Fox News anchor Bill O'Reilly called it the lowest point in American television history. Even employees inside News Corp, Fox's parent company, were uncomfortable. The TV special is canceled. As pressure mounted, Rupert Murdoch, CEO of News Corp, personally intervened. On November 20th, 2006, just days before airing, he released a statement. I and senior management agree with the American public that this was an ill-considered project. We are sorry for any pain that this has caused the families. The Fox special was pulled. The book was canceled. But not before 400,000 copies had been printed and leaked copies began circulating online. The Goldman strike back. Again, Fred Goldman wasn't about to let O.J. profit from a murder he committed or even hypothetically described. The Goldman sued in court to claim the rights to the book as part of the unpaid judgment. After months of legal wrangling, a federal bankruptcy judge in Miami ruled in 2007 that all rights to the book, its profits, and the manuscript will be turned over to the Goldman family. The book is re-released, but with a twist. In September 2007, Fred Goldman re-released the book under a new title, If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer, with the word "if" so tiny on the cover it nearly disappears. They added a new introduction, footnotes, and commentary throughout, dismantling O.J.'s claims and showing where he was subtly confessing. On the cover, they added, "The Goldman family seeks justice." All profits from the book would go to the Goldmans. Fred Goldman told the press. He wrote it. We're using it, not to make money, but to expose him, to make sure no one ever forgets what he did. O.J. spirals further. By 2007, O.J.'s reputation, already in tatters, had collapsed. He couldn't get TV roles. His name had become synonymous with guilt, but he still lived freely. That would soon change. Just 2 months after the Goldmans released If I Did It, O.J. Simpson flew to Las Vegas, determined to reclaim memorabilia he claimed had been stolen from him. What followed would become one of the most surreal and ironic chapters in modern justice. He got away with murder, but in Vegas, justice was waiting. It was a night O.J. Simpson stopped being infamous and became inmate number 10278820, a man who had beaten a double murder case, dodged millions in civil judgments, and published a book about how he would have done it, was finally caught, but not for murder. This time, O.J. went down for armed robbery and kidnapping, and the downfall began with sports memorabilia. The setup, Las Vegas, September 13th, 2007. It was the 13th anniversary of Nicole Brown Simpson's death. O.J. Simpson was staying at the Palace Station Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. He was 60 years old, still cocky, still surrounded by shady friends and hangers-on. That afternoon, Simpson got a phone call from a man named Thomas Riccio, a sports memorabilia broker. Riccio told O.J. that 2 collectors, Alfred Beardsley and Bruce Fromong, were in town selling some of O.J.'s items, including game-worn jerseys, autographed footballs, his Hall of Fame certificate, family photos. Simpson claimed they had been stolen from him years ago. He wanted them back, and he wasn't calling the cops. The robbery, don't let nobody out of this room. On the evening of September 13th, Simpson and 5 other men, including 2 with guns, stormed into room 1203 of the Palace Station Hotel. What happened next was recorded by Riccio himself using a hidden tape recorder, and that tape will become the prosecution's secret weapon. Here's what it captured. O.J. Burson shouting, "Nobody leaves this room. This is my stuff. You think you can steal from me and sell it?" The armed men stood at the door, blocking the exits. Simpson and his crew started confiscating memorabilia, shouting at Fromong and Beardsley. One of Simpson's men, Walter Alexander, waved a gun and allegedly threatened the sellers. Fromong later told the police, "I thought I was going to die in that room." Simpson claimed later that no guns were involved. The audio proved otherwise. The arrest, O.J. taken down. 2 days later, on September 15, 2007, Las Vegas police surrounded O.J. at the Palms Hotel. He was arrested and charged with 12 felony counts, including conspiracy to commit kidnapping, armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, burglary with a firearm, coercion with a deadly weapon. Bail was set at $125,000. O.J. posted it and was released, but the damage was done. This time, there were no Dream Team lawyers, no racial politics, no media circus, just cold, hard evidence, and a recording of the entire crime. The co-conspirators turn on him. One by one, O.J.'s accomplices flipped. Walter Alexander and Charles Cashmore agreed to plea deals in exchange for testifying against Simpson. They admitted there were guns. They said Simpson knew in advance they'd be armed. Simpson insisted, "I didn't know they had guns. I was just reclaiming my stuff." But prosecutors now had eyewitness testimony, a secretly recorded audio confession, and video footage of Simpson planning the raid. The trial, no more fame magic. O.J.'s trial began on September 15, 2008, exactly 1 year after the robbery. This time, there was no media frenzy, no live broadcasts. It was a clean, methodical trial held at the Clark County District Court under Judge Jackie Glass. The jury was diverse and, crucially, sequestered to avoid outside influence. The prosecution painted O.J. as a violent mastermind. The defense argued he was just a frustrated victim reclaiming his property. But the audio recording didn't lie. The jury deliberated for just 13 hours. The verdict, guilty on all counts. On October 3, 2008, exactly 13 years to the day after he was acquitted of murder, O.J. Simpson was found guilty on all 12 counts. Fred Goldman, watching from afar, said, "I believe this is karma." Finally, the system caught up with him. Simpson, now 61 years old, faced the possibility of life behind bars. The sentencing, 33 years. On December 5, 2008, Judge Jackie Glass delivered the sentence. "Mr. Simpson, you went to that room with guns to take back something you felt was yours, but you took it in a way that was criminal." Simpson was sentenced to 33 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 9 years. He was sent to Lovelock Correctional Center in Nevada, inmate number 102-7820. No more golf courses, no TV appearances, no book deals, just cold, locked silence. Aftermath, justice at last? The public reacted with a strange mix of relief and irony. Many saw it not just as justice for the Vegas robbery, but as delayed justice for the 1994 murders. He hadn't gone to prison for killing Nicole and Ron, but now he was paying a price. As the Goldmans put it, we finally got him off the streets. Next, Part 4, the prison years and O.J.'s quiet life after release. Want me to continue with Part 4, covering O.J.'s prison years, 2008 to 2017, his parole, and what happened after his release. Also, would you like a thumbnail prompt, SEO title, description, and 500-character YouTube tags for Part 3? Absolutely. Here's the final chapter in the real-life saga of O.J. Simpson, a story that began with celebrity, crashed into infamy, and ended in quiet obscurity. O.J. Simpson, Part 4, the prison years and life after release. From Hall of Fame to cell block shame. On December 5, 2008, O.J. Simpson was officially inmate number 1027820, sentenced to 33 years in prison at the Lovelock Correctional Center in Nevada for armed robbery, kidnapping, and conspiracy. He was 61 years old. For the first time in his public life, O.J. had no cameras, no attorneys, and no escape. But this wasn't the end of the story, because just 9 years later, O.J. would walk free again. Serving time. Life inside Lovelock, 2008 to 2017. Lovelock was a medium security prison, remote, orderly, and built for long sentences. Simpson was assigned a 7 by 14-foot cell, shared with another inmate. According to correctional officers and other inmates, O.J. adjusted quickly to prison life, worked as a gym janitor, and later organized softball games. was allowed to watch TV, read, and use the prison library, received occasional visitors and letters from fans and critics alike. Inmates described him as charming but manipulative. He was nicknamed the Juice even inside, and some inmates were reportedly starstruck. Still, Simpson never expressed remorse and continued to maintain, "I didn't do anything wrong." Parole attempt 1 denied 2013. In July 2013, O.J. became eligible for early parole on some charges. At the time, he was 66 and claimed good behavior. He told the parole board, "I've been a model inmate. I just want to be with my children." The board granted parole on 5 charges, but Simpson remained behind bars because his other charges, including kidnapping, carried mandatory time. He still faced at least 4 more years. The parole hearing that gripped America, July 20th, 2017. In the summer of 2017, O.J. was once again before the Nevada Board of Parole. This time, the hearing was televised live. Millions tuned in. Now 70 years old, gray-haired, and wearing a blue prison uniform, Simpson spoke calmly. He insisted, "I've done my time. I've done it as well and respectfully as anyone can. I've never had a disciplinary write-up. I'm sorry things turned out the way they did." Even Bruce Fromong, one of the victims in the Vegas robbery, testified on O.J.'s behalf, saying he did not believe Simpson was a threat to society. After less than 30 minutes of deliberation, the board returned with a unanimous vote. Parole granted. His release date was set for October 1st, 2017. O.J. walks free again. In the early hours of October 1st, 2017, O.J. Simpson walked out of Lovelock Correctional Center into the Nevada desert air. A free man for the first time in nearly a decade. He was released quietly, without media presence, to avoid a circus. Life on parole, 2017 to 2021. Simpson relocated to Las Vegas, living in a gated golf community. Under his parole terms, he could not leave Nevada without permission, was subject to random drug and alcohol tests, was not allowed to associate with felons. He kept a low public profile until he didn't. He opened a Twitter account at the Real OJ32 in 2019 with a chilling first post. "I've got a little getting even to do." The account quickly gained hundreds of thousands of followers, and he used it to post bizarre videos, football commentary, and casual comments about the murders, often sparking outrage and disgust. Still unrepentant, still wealthy, still watched, despite owing the Goldman family over $70 million, including accumulated interest, Simpson continued to dodge full payment. He lived off his NFL pension, protected from civil judgments, collected Social Security, was reported to have made money under the table from autographs and media appearances. Fred Goldman continued his fight in civil court to intercept any earnings. "It's infuriating," Fred said. "He's free and he's never paid." Parole ends. Final legal freedom, December 14th, 2021. In December 2021, O.J. Simpson was officially released from parole, nearly 27 years after the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. He was legally free. No more restrictions. No more probation officers. No more check-ins. But not free from the judgment of the public or the stain of history. Today, a ghost of a legacy. As of 2025, O.J. Simpson lives quietly in Las Vegas. He still posts occasionally on social media. He plays golf. He gives odd interviews. But he is no longer a celebrity, only a symbol. A man who went from the Heisman Trophy to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and then to a prison cell, an exploded reputation, and a place in the True Crime Hall of Shame. He never spent a day behind bars for murder. But in the end, justice found another way.